tempestuous creative discussion with my guy Tiberius. If you're hearing us with crystal clear audio clarity, hit up lax error for all of fam. There's a reason for everything, and the book holds meaning from bookend to bookend. And my main point is, when you make art like that, it's like people just leave you to make art, and they kind of accept you for whatever you're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you whether you want to make art for the people or not. Because if you start coming out with, like, because I feel like we had this a conversation like this before, where it was like,
I've had several
if you wanna
in this vein.
If you wanna like kind of do the fan art type route, then you're really going like working for a company. Like if you get a job at Marvel, which has happened from someone drawing a Spider-Man comic. From this girl drawing Spider-Man, she got a job at Marvel where they draw the Spider-Man comics. So it's like that happens. Like she got a job at Marvel Comics. But if you're creating your own designs from your own mind, and you have a story, and like, well, actually, let's just stay on your own drawings, so your own illustrations, and they're not part of a story, then people come to you for illustrations and beauty shots and stuff like that. If you're doing, if your drawings have a story element attached, you could honestly have your own comic or manga.
But that's what I'm saying. People aren't ever gonna really come to. They might do. I guess it depends how elaborate the fan art is. Because
what
just
do you mean?
Because just because you create a bit of fan art, that doesn't inherently mean that piece of fan art isn't telling its own unique, specific story. It's not framed in a way that could that exhibits the ability to tell a story through image.
What do you mean?
A unique story through image. Just because someone's done a fan art of Spider-Man characters.
Well, it was more than fan art, but yeah, I can't remember.
What do you mean? It's more than a fan?
It was like
a whole graphic novel.
It was kind of
It was
like
a whole comic
book.
book.
It was a story.
Oh, well, there you go. That's
Yeah.
the difference. That's what I'm saying.
But it was.
But still,
at
that
the end
is
of the
still
day,
like a
that's
homage.
That's not her character.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
She doesn't own that. They could have told her, you have to take this down. That's not representation of our company. Like,
Should never be like that.
There is a legal ramification.
If I have a company that is a creative company like that, and there's people who are taking like that.
Yeah, fan art things.
Oh my gosh, no matter how detrimental it may come across or how much money that person earns from our intellectual property.
Well, she didn't earn anything.
But even if she did,
okay, wait,
even if
I
she
like
did,
this conversation.
even
Let's
if she
carry
did,
on. I wanna talk about this.
Even if she did, I can do nothing but hold that up and show respect for it. And actually, if it's good enough, even offer her a position.
Yeah, that's what they did.
It just doesn't make sense to be suing people like that. Whenever I see these situations happen, whenever I see situations where people are getting sued for creating great work that pays homage, obviously I understand if people are trying to pass that thing off as their own work. That's understandable. But not being funny, if someone makes a whole comic or a whole movie that just absolutely goes off because it's actually great, that's nothing but an asset to your company.
Bro,
it just makes
literally,
no sense.
No, I feel you, because this is what happened with Star Wars. This is what happens with Lord of the Rings.
What do you mean?
And this is what happens on Wattpad. Do you know what Wattpad is? Okay, Wattpad is an app where people do fan fictions, right? So you know how Twilight has kind of this law, Lord of the Rings has this law, Star Wars has this law. It's because of internet forums and of the like of people making stories from their own thoughts on the comic or the movies or the books,
and building characters of their own.
Same with Harry
their
Potter.
own original characters.
Like, you know,
and
there's
stuff.
like
Bruv, I'm not even gonna lie. I've delved into the world of the Naruto ones, mate.
Yeah, so you
Been
know,
there.
like
You got the
there's this
Naruto
whole
ones, the One Piece ones, and you got your character. Like literally, you'll have character creation where you got like virtual dice.
Yeah.
You create all their stats. You type in your whole bio, what village you're from, what Keke Genkai you've got.
Yo, there's this whole side story of Hermione going with what's that nigga from Slytherin again? What's his name? Malfoy.
Malfoy, yeah.
Like
Lucius Malfoy.
Draco.
Draco, no. Yeah, why did I say
He
Lucius?
got the stick. Big Draco. I got a stick.
Oh my god.
No, so okay, cause I'm personally, I'm enthralled by this whole counterfeit culture and just this. I'm like the fakes, all of this, like how people do fake Supreme and like they print their own hoodies and like obviously Heron Preston has this thing. It's like he's like, if you make a fake of my own, it's like it's your fake. It's like your hoodie now. It's like even though it's got my name on it, it's kind of yours. And that's like his mindset towards it. And it's like I'm like just interested by this. And you know, like how people have just
what,
like
he's saying that to people who make fakes and sell them off to other people.
No, like just make it like, and you want to rock it and say you're wearing Heron Preston. It's like that's Heron Preston now. It's like because that is the that's
the energy.
Yeah,
it's the idea because with an intellectual property, it's an idea. It's the product is the product, but the idea is something that's supposed to inspire people to emulate it.
Exactly.
It's supposed. That's what it's.
And
A good idea does that.
And
you can't be angry
into that. Like I'm into the whole Harry Potter fan fiction. Like me personally, I was heavy. Like
I can't believe
heavy
they've recently
into Star Wars fan fiction. Like I was
really
all the way. Star Wars is like one of my favorite franchises ever. Like that. Let's not get into it because we can get into it. But Star Wars is my one personally, and obviously other people have Lord of the Rings.
New Star Wars games looking a bit mad as well,
Boondocks.
just to say.
Pardon?
New Star Wars games looking a bit mad.
Alright.
But neither of us have a PlayStation, so we're never
like,
gonna ever play it.
Boondocks. All of these like it's like
There's Boondocks fanfiction.
Kinda. Not really.
Oh, I was about to say that would be kind of sick though.
Well, it's coming back.
Different neighborhoods.
But yeah, it's like it's just this whole. We care so much about this name.
You want to be
culture.
a part of it.
You make it live on. This is the point. It's like when you talk about folk tales and folklore and
this
all
is
of
where
this
this
stuff,
idea comes from.
Yeah,
it comes from that.
It's meant to but because certain things are so Americanized and commercialized, it's like you have to be rigid on it. But with me personally, when I make a story, I would love that type. Like that's the highest respect that I see paid.
So would you say this idea where people feel like they've got to shut down things and sue things that are replicating it is just an older form of capitalism still sort of perpetuating?
I don't think it's an older form of capitalism. It's a
thing?
purpose. But like if someone has like fake washing up liquid and they're calling it fairy liquid, then there's a problem there. It's like that's not our formula. If someone has fake Coke and they call it Pepsi,
because I do think there's a problem when you're selling it. That's made me thirsty, man. I need some drink.
Thirsty.
What was I gonna say?
I've only got taps still.
That's fine. Because I do think there is a problem when you're selling that thing on to other people as if it's real.
Yeah.
Or
authentic, genuine.
Yeah, that's a problem.
When you're talking about Persian rugs and it's had this whole history, but you really just like made it in a factory and stuff. It's like, it's like,
that's
and
different.
and you talk about Roman tapestries or like how people do fake Leonardo da Vinci paintings.
And try and get like the same amount of money.
Big time, and this is why I love that conversation. I love the idea. Like I just love the idea of what is counterfeit and what is continuing on a story. Like when you make a replica, that's counterfeit. When you give the replica a new stage of a story, so like let's say Mona Lisa's looking straight on, but then you make a painting of her looking in profile. That's part of the story. Like that's not a replica anymore. That's story.
It's still added
that's
your own
homage. That's you've added yours to it. You've added an element. You've put something on. You put a spin on it. That's like unlike anything we've seen before. And that's the point of art, is to bring an idea to fruition and show people what they've never seen. So, or speak to people in a way that they've never heard, or say something for people that they've always wanted to say, and articulate yourself in a certain type of way. And it's how much you care about that type of conversation and that topic, and as an artist, because right now we're really talking about as an artist, and just a tangent of who, when I was talking about who I wanted to be in 2014, 2013, 2012, like when all of this mad stuff was happening, when people heard that I'm from London and they were asking me whether I'm part of the London riots and all of this other thing. It's like, what am I trying to say? Who am I trying to be? What has happened to me in my life that's enabled me to speak in this type of way? The same way that we're talking about the candor of which I speak. It's like, yeah, there's that where you can possibly be offended, but there's also the part where I protest and I'm able to speak for people who don't have a voice or can't articulate, and that is the exact same thing as getting offended.
Yeah, but that's why I say, like I even said, like it's not even like my perspective on things like this have changed, like and that's why when I see a lot of people getting offended by what people say, it's like a lot of the times when people say offensive things or rude or racist or sexist or things, like there's so much context. This isn't about giving people passes or giving people like, oh, that's okay for you to say things like that, but there's so much context behind these things, yeah, that you have. I would like a drink. Well, I want to speak to you. I don't want to speak just to the podcast. But like you said, that midpoint as I'm making a point. But
okay,
it's like
your point. I'm thirsty.
Okay, yeah, I was because it's hot in this fucking room. But it's like it's that same conversation I was having with people, and even with you when we was talking about the way people treat us. And I realized where it comes to, and I said this exact same thing in a conversation I had yesterday. We actually have too high an expectation of other people. Actually, we how we are with our family and how our family treat us and the people that we care for treat us, we put those expectations onto complete strangers without allowing ourselves to go. And look, it's not about going, I think these people are going to do the worst things. It's not about being wary. It's not about avoiding people. It's not about being paranoid. It's about understanding and expecting this person more than likely doesn't have my best interest in their heart. That's fine. That doesn't mean I don't treat them great. I don't stop how I treat those people, but I don't do the things that I do with the expectation of because it's not even necessarily about going, oh, they're going to do the same for me. It's just about going, oh, I understand whether or not they do this doesn't matter, because my expectations is that they probably don't have their best interest in my heart. But all I can do is express the best interest in my heart and in my being. So to be offended by people, and look, everyone's always going to be offended. And obviously, there's things that people say and do, you can't let them get away with these things. But I think as we grow and mature and we get older, all we can ever really do is focus on the most important things. You know, and that's the perpetuation of positive emotions, positive actions, and the way that we treat people, and setting a complete example through the adversity of these things.
I don't know. Like, okay, here's like, because obviously you just said like a whole concept in it, and I don't know whether I agree with it in its entirety, but there's elements in which align with my thesis on this, which is like the point of an action is you wanting to do it. Like, really and truly, it should be like a reaction, but it's you wanting to do it. Like, if you're what's that word called again? The word where altruistic. Like,
Altruistic, yeah.
like people expect you to act altruistic towards them, right? Like without wanting any repercussions. But let's say you do that, but you also said the perpetuation of positive emotion. So that's not altruistic in itself. It's like you don't want positive. Like it's not about positive or negative. It's like how you want to act. If you as a human, and this is where it comes to with me, human heartedness, being a human, acting in a human way, positive or negative.
Because when I say positive, though, I don't mean yay, ha ha ha. In that I include telling people how it is sometimes. That's why I say there's things you can't let people get away with. But my point is, because to me, negative emotions isn't saying something that's going to make someone feel bad. Because you could say something that sounds really quite harmful, hurtful, but is the truth, and actually in the long run is going to allow someone to see the better side of whatever it is that is afflicting them.
Okay,
so when I say positivity, I mean positive intentions, not positive emotions. I mean positive intentions.
Good intentions, but everyone has human intentions. Listen,
okay.
There are people. It's like when you're a human, you're gonna act, and things are gonna happen to you, and things are gonna happen for you, and it's like it's not really positive or negative. And this is a lot of Buddhist speak right now. It's not really positive or negative. It's like just things happening.
Equanimity.
While you're happening. So there are happenings around your happening, right? And I know that sounds really weird, but if you're really living in that way, then whatever happens is it's not a result. Like if someone's happy that you help them cross the road, then that's the result of you helping them across the road, right? If someone's okay with that, then that's cool. If someone is angry with something that you said because of the way you decided to say it, then that's just the way that they decided to act, positive or negative. It's like you're just doing things, right? But now if that's also got repercussions and ramifications, then that's furthering whatever you've ever done. So from the point that you've done it, it should really stay there. But that's not how humans work. So like you said, like people should pay, there should be repercussions to certain actions, right? So now we get into human heartedness and like the ability to let people be human and live on and like just have their own thing. So now we're talking about dichotomy and double standards and all of these other things, right? So what and this is a lot of things that I think about our generation. It's like, what double standards are we planning to keep as a generation? Because no matter what, there are going to be double standards, and there's a different standard of living that we have now than anybody else has had prior to us. And this is a big part of Black Renaissance, the series that I'm doing now, which is we are making history in this moment, right? And I know I'm saying a lot of things, but let me just quickly tie it up. It's like we are acting today for what people are going to speak about tomorrow, basically. And our generation particularly has a certain set of circumstances around it where everything's up in the air, and we are now just plucking rules down in which we're going to live by, and probably people are going to live by for another 200 years. And the decisions we make today affect whatever child is going to be born in 150 years from now. And that child is going to decide whether what we said today, just like we're deciding what all of these founding fathers and the colonization and what they done and what they've said about black people or ethnic people in general, that's exactly what people are going to say about how we first came about as like just a people living together, like Asian, black, white, and what's the other one? Shit, there's another one, but I digress. The point is, there are rules that we're just gonna have to live by, right? And we are only now addressing those rules, and really and truly, it's the strongest mind that's gonna win. And like, this is a big part of one of our other conversations, way before the not way before the podcast. But way before today, months before the podcast, where it was like, we're living in the middle of a war,
But it's
and
a
it's
different kind of war.
yeah, and this war that we're living in right now, it's like we're either gonna be a part of it or we're just gonna let it happen to us. And if you decide to fight for a certain type of rights, then that's the type of thing that you're gonna have
But
to
I
do.
think it's more than just one war, and that's the funny thing.
It is.
It's more than just one war, and
because it's ideas, there's loads of little other ones, and then like those will bubble up, and they will get
so
bigger,
funny.
and like it, and literally it's a survival of the fittest mentality. So the best idea, the best, most well-rounded idea is gonna win. So the way me and you are gonna see our grandkids act is a result, a direct result of the first generation of whatever rules we set up when we were 30, 40, 50. And that's the point. It's like when we're all talking about, okay, being a
So
beast of
mad.
the time, or like perpetuating new ideas and stuff like that. It's like, or putting ideas, or speaking for people, or just giving people a new train of thought. It's like, what is your thing, and is this idea of yours worthwhile?
Because this is what I was when I asked that first question just at the beginning of the podcast. This is a lot of what I wanted to talk about, because it's like, at the end of the day, what's so interesting about it is, although everyone has to be held accountable for the things that they do, not just to other people, but the way that they conduct themselves for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like everyone has things that personally affects them and that they personally worry about. And the reason I asked the question of, do you have people saying to you how you should move, how you should do this, how you should do that,
Yeah.
is because I think one of the most important things, and one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're trying to figure things out and you're trying to find, you're making sense of the whole path of what you're trying to do, having the sort of patience and the having the patience and the ability to slow down and move at the pace that you move at is actually one of the most important things. No matter, like, having mentors and people that you can confide in and trust is important, but you shouldn't be moving to anyone else's, because that's the only way to actually play to keep up with this so-called game or this war, right?
Yeah.
You have to, because you can't, if you're playing by someone else's game, you're 2 steps behind them already, because they're playing the game that they're playing. So it's like, and that's been such a struggle for me to do, because, like, as I said, I lose focus on things quite easily, and I get quite disillusioned with things fairly easily, and that's my own battle for me. Like, that's my own thing, and more, especially in this past 6 months, the biggest things that I've learned is because it's as we were saying before, being busy isn't actually being busy isn't a good thing. The act of being busy is essentially, it means nothing. It's like when people go, yeah, I've just been busy. Like, I find myself saying that. I consciously avoid saying I've been busy, because it means nothing.
It means nothing.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, the biggest thing for me this year and to the end of this year is actually, I'm trying to really improve how I focus on the things that I'm trying to do. Like.
Well, I feel like that's a good full stop on the end of the episode.
Boom.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this roller coaster of a cast.
Episode, yeah. Take 2.5. 2 and
2 halves. Oh, fam. A tale of 2 halves. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, actually Instagram and YouTube at Culture Camaraderie Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and Culture and Camaraderie on YouTube. We've got bare videos up now, which is amazing. I love that so much. And what's the other thing?
Content.
My socials NYtypical and LAX_ERA.
Yep.
You can find
Follow
me
it up.
at NYtypical. You can find my book at Melancholy Maelstrom, A Diary of Silver Linings. On all your platforms, you can even ask a bookstore to bring it in, and they'll buy a bunch. If enough people ask, so that's amazing. This has been peace, blessings, and salutations. This has been an episode of Culture and Camaraderie podcast.
Episode 14.
14.